She was 49 and still wore her wedding ring until the billionaire kissed the finger and waited. She was 49 and invisible. 2 years wearing her wedding ring like armor. 2 years of people looking through her like she'd disappeared with Marcus. Until the billionaire at the grief support fundraiser found her crying alone and kissed the finger where her wedding band sat, not to seduce her, to honor her. "I'm not asking you to forget him," Harrison said, still holding her hand. "I'm asking to wait until you're ready to remember what it feels like to be seen." Her heart cracked open. Why would he wait? Why would this 42-year-old tech billionaire, who could have anyone want her, a 49-year-old widow, who coordinated other people's happiness while drowning in her own grief? She should pull away, should say something that would make him leave. She didn't move. Welcome to our channel, where we bring you emotional stories that stay with you. If you're new here, hit subscribe and the notification bell so you never miss a story. And if you're returning, thank you. Your support means everything. Now, stay until the end. Drop a comment with your thoughts, and let's begin. 3 hours earlier, Lorraine had been doing what she did best, making herself invisible. The grand ballroom glittered with crystal and privilege. String quartet in the corner, champagne fountain by the entrance, auction tables displaying weekend getaways and jewelry that cost more than her annual salary. The annual spring gala for the Healing Hearts Grief Support Foundation, her baby, the event she'd been planning for 8 months. Everything was perfect. The centerpieces, white roses and eucalyptus, elegant but not funeral. The lighting, warm, amber, not harsh. The program booklet, heartfelt without being maudlin. She'd thought of every detail because that's what she did now. She organized other people's healing while her own grief sat heavy in her chest, familiar as breathing. "Lorraine, the caterers need you." James, her assistant, materialized at her elbow. 26, enthusiastic, still believed event planning was glamorous. On it. She smoothed her dress, simple black sheath, appropriate and forgettable, and headed toward the kitchen. Her heels clicked against marble. Around her, donors mingled in clusters, laughing that easy laugh of people whose biggest problem was choosing which charity to support this quarter. She'd been one of them once. Marcus made good money as an architect. They'd attended galas like this, her hand in his, both of them young and stupid enough to think they had time. Lorraine pushed through the kitchen doors. The scent hit immediately: seared beef, roasted vegetables, that sharp tang of expensive wine. The head chef stood with arms crossed, face red. "The Wellington is overcooked. We need 30 more minutes." She checked her watch. "Dinner service in 20. Her stomach dropped, but her face stayed calm. "Okay, I'll extend cocktail hour. Can you have appetizers?" "Already on it." He gestured to sous chefs arranging trays of prosciutto-wrapped figs, smoked salmon crostini. "You're a miracle worker. You pay me to be." Back in the ballroom, she caught the event host's eye, made a subtle gesture. He nodded, smoothly announced an extended cocktail reception to allow for more auction bidding. The crowd barely noticed. Most were already 3 glasses deep in champagne anyway. Lorraine exhaled. Crisis averted. She scanned the room with practiced efficiency, checking. Ice buckets full, bathroom attendant at station, coat check running smoothly. Everything in its place, except for Harrison Sullivan, who stood 30 feet away, watching her with an intensity that made her skin prickle. He did this. Every single grief support meeting for the past 6 months, every committee meeting for this gala, he watched her. Not creepy, not aggressive, just attentive, like she was a puzzle he was trying to solve without touching the pieces. Lorraine looked away, grabbed a champagne flute from a passing server even though she didn't drink anymore. Alcohol made the grief sharper, meaner, held it like armor. "Miss Hayes." His voice came from behind her, low and careful. "Everything looks beautiful." She turned. Up close, Harrison Sullivan was worse. Tall, broad-shouldered, in a custom tux that probably cost more than her car. Dark hair silvering at the temples, those grey eyes that saw too much. Objectively handsome in that way, rich white men often were good bone structure, expensive dental work, personal trainer 3 times a week. But it was his hands she noticed. Long fingers, calloused. Not soft billionaire hands, workers' hands. "Thank you, Mr. Sullivan." Professional smile, the one she'd perfected. "Your foundation's generosity made tonight possible. Harrison, please." He tilted his head slightly. "You've coordinated 47 events for us in 2 years. I think we're past Mr. Sullivan." 47. he'd counted. Her throat tightened. Is there something you need? Yes. He stepped closer, not invading her space, just closing distance. The ballroom noise faded to background hum. I need you to stop running from me. Her heart kicked. I'm not. Every meeting, you sit in the back. Every event, you leave early. At grief support, you arrange the chairs, so you're always near the exit. His voice stayed gentle, but his words landed like stones in still water. Lorraine, I'm not trying to pressure you. I just want you to know I see you. The champagne flute trembled in her hand. She set it down on a nearby table before she dropped it. I don't know what you think. I think, Harrison interrupted softly, that you've been invisible for 2 years. That you make everyone else's pain easier while carrying your own alone. That you're 49 and exhausted, and you've convinced yourself you're supposed to feel this way forever. She couldn't breathe. Around them, the gala continued laughter, music, the soft clink of silverware. But Lorraine stood frozen, stripped bare by this man who should have been a stranger. How do you? Because I'm 52, and I've been doing the same thing. His smile was crooked, sad. My sister died 18 months ago. Ovarian cancer, 38 years old. I threw myself into work, into this foundation, into anything that kept me from sitting still long enough to fall apart. He paused. And then I saw you at that first grief support meeting, organizing the refreshments instead of sitting with the group, and I thought, she gets it. Lorraine's eyes burned. She would not cry. Not here, not now, not in front of 300 donors who needed her to be competent, professional Lorraine Hayes who had everything together. I should check on dinner service. Her voice came out steady. Small miracle. Harrison nodded slowly, stepped back, giving her space. But his eyes held hers for one more moment. I'll be here when you're ready. She walked away. Didn't run. That would have been too obvious. The bathroom was her refuge, third stall, door locked, forehead pressed against cool metal. Her breath came in short gasps. She pressed her palm against her chest, felt the wild hammer of her heart under the black dress. This wasn't supposed to happen. She'd made a deal with herself after Marcus died. No dating, no romance, no pretending life could be normal again. Marcus was her person. 23 years of marriage, high school sweethearts, the kind of love story people envied. You don't get that twice. Lightning doesn't strike the same place. And she was 49. Grey streaking her natural hair, she'd stopped straightening it after Marcus died, let her curls be themselves. Reading glasses, she kept on a chain around her neck. Stretch marks from the pregnancy they'd lost at 5 months, 20 years ago. Her body was a map of grief and time. Men like Harrison Sullivan didn't look at women like her. He was probably bored, or doing charity work extended to sad widows, or... Lorraine? James's voice filtered through the door. The Wellington's ready. She straightened, wiped under her eyes, checked for mascara smudges, flushed the toilet for cover, emerged to wash her hands, fix her face in the mirror. The woman staring back looked tired, looked 49 and sad and trying too hard. Lorraine lifted her chin, reapplied lipstick, muted berry, nothing too bold, smoothed her dress, went back to work. Dinner service went smoothly. The auction raised $200,000. The program included testimonials from grief support members, stories of healing that had the audience in tears. Lorraine stood in the back, watching her work succeed, feeling nothing, until Marcus's favorite song started playing. Alicia Keys, If I Ain't Got You. They danced to it at their wedding, had played it every anniversary, had sung it badly in the kitchen while cooking Sunday dinner. The string quartet's version was gentle, beautiful, devastating. Lorraine couldn't do this. Not here. Not now. She slipped out through the service hallway, past the kitchen, into the coat room where staff had set up an auxiliary bar. Empty now, everyone at dinner, just racks of coats and her breaking heart. She sank onto the velvet bench by the window, pressed her hand over her mouth to keep the sob inside. This was why she kept busy. This was why she coordinated and planned and organized until she fell into bed too exhausted to dream. Because the moment she stopped moving, grief swallowed her whole. Lorraine. She looked up. Harrison stood in the doorway, concern etched across his features. He wasn't supposed to be here. He was supposed to be at the head table, accepting accolades, being the generous billionaire who saved non-profits. I'm fine, her voice cracked. Go back to dinner. He closed the door behind him, crossed to the bench and sat not too close, leaving space. loosened his bow tie like it was strangling him. "My sister loved that song," he said quietly. "Rachel. She sang it constantly, terribly off-key. Drove our mother crazy." Lorraine's breath hitched. "Marcus and I danced to it. At our wedding." Harrison nodded. "Didn't offer platitudes. Didn't tell her time heals, or he's in a better place, or any of the useless things people said. Just sat there, solid and present." They stayed like that for minutes that felt like hours. The muffled sound of the gala beyond the door, the city lights through the window, two people sitting in grief, not running from it. Finally, Harrison spoke. "Can I ask what happened?" To Marcus. Most people didn't ask. They waited for her to volunteer, or they looked it up online, or they just avoided the topic entirely. But Harrison asked directly, carefully, like her pain mattered. "Pancreatic cancer." The word still felt surreal. "Diagnosed in May, gone by September. 4 months. We thought we'd have decades. I'm sorry." Simple. Sincere. "Everyone is." She looked at her hands, at the wedding ring that felt like part of her skeleton now. "Sorry doesn't bring him back." "No, it doesn't." Harrison's voice held understanding, not pity. Rachel went fast too. By the time they caught it, she had months. She spent half of that time planning her funeral, organizing her affairs, making sure everyone else would be okay. He laughed, bitter and sad. "Even dying, she was taking care of us." Lorraine turned to look at him. Really look. Saw the same exhaustion she felt, the same weight of carrying on when you wanted to stop. "You were close. Best friends. She was my little sister, but she always took care of me. Made sure I ate, made sure I slept, made sure I didn't turn into a complete workaholic." His smile went soft. "When she died, I didn't know how to be a person anymore." "Yes." The word came out fierce. "That's exactly it. Marcus knew me. All of me. The parts I liked, the parts I hid, the parts I didn't even know existed. And when he died, I realized I'd built my whole self around him. I don't know who I am without him." Harrison met her eyes. "You're Lorraine Hayes. You coordinate beautiful events that help people heal. You hum Mary J. Blige when you're focused. You take your coffee black with exactly 1 sugar. You reorganize the grief support chairs into a circle because you think it's more welcoming. You're kind and capable, and you've survived something that would break most people." Her breath caught. "How do you know all that?" "Because for 6 months, I've been watching you." "Not in a creepy way," he added quickly. "In a, you're the only thing that makes me feel human way." Lorraine shook her head, tried to smile, couldn't quite manage it. "Harrison, you're 42. You're brilliant and successful, and you could have anyone. Why would you—" "I'm 52, he corrected gently. "And I don't want anyone. I want you." The room tilted. She gripped the bench edge. "You don't know me." "I know you enough to know I want to know more." He shifted, turning to face her fully. "I know this is terrifying. I know you think moving forward means leaving Marcus behind. I know you feel guilty for even considering it. But Lorraine," his voice dropped, urgent and careful, "you're not betraying him by choosing to live." Tears spilled over. She couldn't stop them. "I don't know how." "Neither do I." Harrison reached out slowly, telegraphing the movement, giving her time to pull back. When she didn't, he took her hand, her left hand, the one with the ring. "But maybe we figure it out together." His thumb brushed over her wedding band. Then, so carefully it made her chest ache, Harrison lifted her hand and pressed his lips to her ring finger, not trying to replace Marcus, honoring him, acknowledging him, making space for grief and hope to coexist. "I'm not asking you to forget him," Harrison said against her skin. "I'm asking you to let me wait until you're ready to remember what it feels like to be seen." Lorraine's heart cracked open. 2 years of ice, melting. 2 years of holding herself together, coming undone. She looked at this man, patient, damaged, offering her something she'd thought was gone forever. Possibility. "Why?" she whispered. "Why me?" Harrison's smile was small, real. "Because for 6 months, you're the only person who's made me feel less alone. Because you see grief as something to honor, not something to fix. Because when I watch you move through the world, I think, she knows. She gets it. She's still standing even though standing hurts." He squeezed her hand gently. "And because when you walked into that first grief support meeting and reorganized all the chairs, I thought you were the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen." She laughed. It came out half sob, but it was a laugh. "I was wearing yoga pants and a ratty sweatshirt." "I know." His eyes crinkled at the corners. You looked real. Everyone else in my life is performing. You were just you. Lorraine sat there, hand in his, feeling the weight of his patience. He wasn't rushing her, wasn't pushing, just offering, waiting. I don't know if I can do this, she admitted. That's okay. We don't have to figure it out tonight. Harrison stood, still holding her hand, helping her up. But maybe we could start with coffee. Next week. No pressure. Just two people who understand grief. Having coffee. Every instinct screamed at her to say no, to protect herself, to keep Marcus's memory sacred by staying frozen in place. But another voice, smaller and braver. Marcus wouldn't want this. Marcus would tell her to live. Just coffee, she heard herself say. Harrison's whole face transformed. Relief, joy, hope, all of it flooding in at once. Just coffee, he agreed. They stood there in the coat room, city lights painting shadows across expensive coats, string quartet playing in the distance. Lorraine looked down at their joined hands, her dark skin against his lighter complexion, her wedding ring catching the light between them. She didn't pull away. Quick pause if you're feeling this story. Hit the hype so others can find it. Comment where you're watching from. Now, back to the story. Coffee turned into 3 hours at the corner cafe 2 blocks from Lorraine's apartment. She'd almost cancelled, stood in front of her closet for 40 minutes, paralyzed by the question, what do you wear to coffee with a billionaire when you're not sure if it's a date? Settled on jeans and a rust-colored sweater, her natural curls pulled back with a silk scarf. Minimal makeup. If Harrison wanted the polished version, he'd have to keep waiting. He showed up in jeans, too. Regular jeans, not the kind that cost $300. A grey Henley, leather jacket, baseball cap pulled low, looked like a normal man, not someone whose company had gone public for $2 billion. You look nice, he said when she arrived, standing to pull out her chair. You look like you're hiding from paparazzi. His laugh was surprised, genuine, guilty. I figured you didn't need photographers asking questions. Thoughtful. That threw her. They ordered her coffee black with 1 sugar, he remembered. Him an Americano. The cafe was busy enough for privacy, quiet enough for conversation. Sunshine streamed through the window, catching dust motes in golden light. So, Lorraine said, wrapping her hands around the warm mug, how does this work? Do we have a grief support meeting for 2? We could, Harrison smiled. Or we could just talk. Like people. I haven't been people in a while. Me neither. The silence stretched, but it wasn't uncomfortable. Felt more like 2 swimmers catching their breath between strokes. Harrison spoke first. Tell me about Marcus. Not how he died. Who he was. Most people avoided Marcus's name, like speaking it would hurt her. But Harrison leaned forward, genuinely curious, making space for her dead husband at the table. Lorraine's throat tightened. He was an architect, designed affordable housing, community centers, buildings that served people, not profit. Used to say architecture should heal neighborhoods, not just fill them. She smiled, remembering. He had terrible taste in music. Like, objectively bad. He loved 80s hair metal. I'm talking Poison, Whitesnake, Def Leppard. Harrison laughed. That's impressively terrible, right? But he'd blast it while cooking Sunday dinner, singing into a wooden spoon, completely off-key. Our neighbors hated us. The memory made her chest ache and warm at once. He proposed on a Tuesday. Just came home from work. Dropped to 1 knee in the kitchen while I was making spaghetti. Said he couldn't wait for something romantic. Said every day with me was already romantic. Smart man. He was. Lorraine looked down at her coffee. We met in high school. I was 15. He was 16. Everyone said we were too young, that it wouldn't last. But it did. 23 years of marriage, 28 years together total. Half my life. Harrison reached across the table, covered her hand with his. Didn't speak, just held on. I don't know how to be a person who dates at 49, she admitted. I never learned. Marcus was it. We grew up together. I don't know the rules now. I don't think there are rules. Harrison's thumb traced circles on the back of her hand. I think we just keep showing up, being honest, figuring it out. That sounds exhausting. Probably. His smile went crooked. But I'm willing to try if you are. Lorraine studied him. Grey eyes, steady, patient. The calluses on his hands rough against her skin. He looked tired too, not sleepless tired, but soul tired. The kind of exhaustion that came from carrying grief while pretending you weren't. Tell me about Rachel, she said. Harrison's face shifted. Pain, love, loss, all of it surfacing at once. He didn't pull his hand away. She was chaos in human form, brilliant chaos, but still chaos. His voice went soft. Rachel was a pediatric surgeon, saved kids' lives daily, came home and couldn't figure out how to work her own coffee maker. She called me at 2 a.m. with medical emergencies, and also to ask how to boil pasta. Lorraine smiled. Sounds like you took care of each other. We did. After our parents died car accident, 10 years ago, it was just us. She was all I had. Harrison stared at their joined hands. When she got sick, she made me promise I wouldn't shut down, wouldn't bury myself in work, wouldn't disappear. He looked up, met Lorraine's eyes. I promised. Then spent 18 months breaking that promise daily. Grief makes liars of us all. Yeah, he squeezed her hand. But 6 months ago, I walked into that grief support meeting because my therapist insisted, and I saw you organizing chairs, and I thought, Rachel would like her. Rachel would tell me to stop being a coward and introduce myself. Is that why you kept coming back? No, I kept coming back because you were the first person who didn't treat me like a project to fix or a wallet to tap. Harrison's voice went rough. You just let me be sad. Let me sit in the back and not talk. And when I did talk, you listened without trying to solve anything. Lorraine's eyes burned. That's all we can do. Listen. Most people can't even do that. They stayed until the cafe closed. Talked about everything and nothing, Rachel's terrible jokes, Marcus's obsession with crossword puzzles, Harrison's secret love of reality TV, Lorraine's failed attempts to learn piano. Found out they'd both been to the same college, different decades. Both hated cilantro. Both read the obituaries compulsively now. When Harrison walked her home, he stopped at her building entrance. Didn't ask to come up. Just looked at her with those patient grey eyes. Can I see you again? He asked. This is probably a terrible idea, Lorraine said. Probably. I'm a mess. I cry at random songs. I still set the table for 2 sometimes and forget. I talk to Rachel's voicemail to hear her voice. I keep her apartment exactly as she left it. I'm a mess too. Harrison stepped closer, not touching, just near. But maybe we're a mess together. Lorraine looked up at him, saw her own grief reflected back, but also something else, something that felt dangerously like hope. Dinner, she heard herself say. Friday. But I picked the restaurant, somewhere quiet. No photographers. His smile could have lit the whole city. Deal. Friday became a regular thing. Then Sunday brunch. Then weekday coffee before work. They didn't call it dating. Didn't label it. Just kept showing up for each other. 2 broken people learning to be people again. Harrison learned that Lorraine volunteered at the community center Marcus had designed, teaching event planning to teenagers. That she still wore Marcus's old Georgetown sweatshirt to bed. That she loved Jill Scott and Mary J. Blige and sang along badly in the car. That her best friend Shanice checked in daily, had been her rock through the worst of grief. Lorraine learned that Harrison started his tech company in his garage, grew it through instinct and stubbornness, that he played piano when stressed, classical pieces that sounded like heartbreak, that he donated anonymously to dozens of charities, never wanted credit, that his relationship with his late wife had been complicated. They'd divorced 2 years before Rachel got sick, stayed friends, but the guilt still ate at him. I wasn't good at being married, Harrison admitted one Sunday over pancakes at her favorite diner. I worked too much, traveled constantly. Amanda deserved better. Did you love her? I thought I did. But I think I loved the idea of a wife more than I loved her specifically, which makes me an asshole. He pushed eggs around his plate. Rachel called me on it, said I was choosing work over everything. I didn't listen. Lorraine reached across the table, took his hand. We all have regrets, things we'd do differently. Do you? With Marcus. She thought about it. I wish I'd made him go to the doctor sooner. He had stomach pain for months, kept saying it was stress. By the time we got it checked, she swallowed hard. 4 months. That's all we got after diagnosis. Harrison squeezed her hand. It's not your fault. I know, but knowing doesn't stop the what-ifs. They sat in the diner booth, holding hands across sticky formica, while other diners ate and laughed around them. 2 people learning that grief didn't have an expiration date, but it could make room for other things too. After breakfast, they walked through the park. October air crisp, leaves turning gold and red. Couples jogged past, families fed ducks by the pond, normal people doing normal things. Lorraine stopped by the fountain, sat on the stone edge. Harrison sat beside her, close enough that their thighs touched. Comfortable, easy. "Can I ask you something?" Lorraine kept her eyes on the water. "Why me? Really? You could have anyone. Someone younger, someone who doesn't come with 2 years of baggage. You're 49, not 99. And everyone comes with baggage." Harrison turned to face her. "But you want the truth?" She nodded. "That first grief support meeting, you were wearing yoga pants and that Georgetown sweatshirt. Your hair was in a bun, no makeup, and you looked exhausted. You organized the chairs, put out coffee and cookies, made sure everyone felt welcome. Then you sat in the back and cried silently through the whole meeting." His voice went soft. "After, when everyone left, you stayed and cleaned up, wiped down tables, threw away tissues, reset the chairs for the next group. And I thought, she takes care of everyone but herself. She's drowning and still making sure everyone else can breathe." Lorraine's vision blurred. "I wanted to know you," Harrison continued. "Wanted to know what made you keep showing up. What made you care about strangers when you were barely surviving yourself. So I kept coming back, watched you, waited for you to see me seeing you. That's a long time to wait. You're worth waiting for." The fountain sprayed behind them, sunlight catching in the mist, making rainbows. Lorraine looked at Harrison, this patient, damaged man who'd spent 6 months learning her rhythms, and felt something crack open in her chest. Want. Terrifying, guilty want. "I'm scared," she whispered. "Me too." Harrison lifted his hand slowly, cupped her face. His palm was warm, calloused, steady. "But I'm more scared of not trying." He leaned in. Gave her time to pull back, to say no, to run. She didn't run. The kiss was soft, careful, questioning, his lips barely brushing hers, tasting like coffee and possibility. Nothing demanding, just gentle. Lorraine's hand came up, gripped his jacket, held on. The kiss deepened slightly, still gentle but more certain. His thumb stroked her cheekbone. She made a sound, half sob, half sigh, and he pulled back immediately. "Too much?" he asked, searching her face. "No, not enough. Too much. I don't know." She laughed, shaky. "I haven't kissed anyone but Marcus in 28 years. We can stop. We can go slower. Whatever you need." But Lorraine didn't want to stop, didn't want to go slower. She wanted to feel alive again, wanted to remember what it was like to be wanted, to want something for herself. She kissed him again, firmer this time, her hand sliding into his hair, his arm wrapping around her waist, pulling her closer. The fountain and the park and the families faded. Just this, his mouth on hers, his heartbeat under her palm, the terrifying exhilaration of choosing forward motion. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Harrison rested his forehead against hers. "Okay?" he murmured. "Yeah," she smiled, real and surprised. "Yeah, I think I am." They sat by the fountain until the sun started setting, talking and kissing and figuring out this new shape of themselves. And for the first time in 2 years, Lorraine felt something besides grief. She felt hope. The trouble started with a photograph. Harrison had invited Lorraine to his company's annual charity gala, black tie, 500 guests, the kind of event where deals got made over champagne and everyone watched everyone else. She'd said no twice before he wore her down. "You coordinate events like this all the time," he'd argued over dinner at her apartment. "Why not attend one as a guest?" "Because attending as a guest means being photographed, being visible, being," she gestured vaguely, "associated with you publicly." Harrison set down his wine glass. "Is that a problem? Being associated with me? You know what I mean. The press will have questions, your colleagues will have opinions, and I'm just—" She stopped. "Just what?" "I'm just me, Harrison. I'm not society page material. I'm a 49-year-old widow who coordinates non-profit events and wears the same 3 dresses to everything." He crossed to where she stood by the kitchen counter, bracketed her with his arms, boxed her in gently. "You're Lorraine Hayes. You're brilliant and kind, and you make every room better by being in it. And I want you there. Not as my event coordinator. As my date." The word hung between them. Date. They'd been circling around it for weeks, this thing they were building. But naming it made it real. "One gala," she finally said. "But I'm leaving early if it's horrible. Deal." Now, standing in Harrison's penthouse living room, Lorraine questioned every decision that led here. The dress Harrison had sent, deep emerald silk, elegant and expensive, fit perfectly because of course he'd somehow known her size, felt like a costume. Her hair was twisted into an updo, makeup carefully applied. She looked polished, put together. She looked like someone trying to be someone else. "You look stunning," Harrison said from the doorway. He wore a classic tux, bow tie perfectly knotted, looking every inch the billionaire CEO, but his eyes were warm, familiar. "Breathe." "Lorraine, I'm breathing." "You're panicking." "That too." She turned from the mirror. "What if I use the wrong fork? What if I don't know anyone? What if—" Harrison crossed to her, took both her hands. "What if you remember you've coordinated 47 events like this? What if you remember you're the most capable person I know? What if you just be yourself and let everyone else catch up?" She wanted to believe him, wanted to feel confident, but the dress and the makeup and the penthouse reminded her she didn't belong in Harrison's world. She was visiting, tourist in someone else's life. The gala was held at the Grand Ballroom downtown, ironically, the same venue where she'd had her breakdown in the coat room 6 weeks ago. Full circle. They arrived fashionably late. Harrison's driver opened the door, and immediately camera flashes erupted. Paparazzi lined the red carpet, shouting questions. "Harrison, who's your date?" "Mr. Sullivan, look here. Is this your new girlfriend?" Lorraine froze. Harrison's hand found the small of her back, steady and grounding. "We can use the side entrance," he murmured in her ear. She thought about it. The easy escape, but then she remembered Marcus, who taught her to face things head-on, who would have told her to hold her head high. "No, front door." She lifted her chin. "Let's go." Pride flashed in Harrison's eyes. They walked the carpet together, his hand never leaving her back. Lorraine smiled at cameras, ignored questions, focused on breathing. Inside, the ballroom glittered with wealth and power. Tech CEOs, venture capitalists, politicians, celebrities, everyone who was anyone. And Lorraine, holding Harrison Sullivan's arm, suddenly visible in a way she hadn't been in years. "Harrison!" A silver-haired man materialized, hand extended. "Good to see you. And who's this lovely lady?" "Thomas, meet Lorraine Hayes." "Lorraine, Thomas Chen, our CFO." Thomas's eyes sharpened with recognition. "Hayes, you coordinate the Healing Hearts events, don't you?" "Beautiful work." Relief flooded through her. "Thank you. Your foundation's support makes it possible." "Well, we're lucky to have you." Thomas smiled warmly before moving on. "See?" Harrison's look said. "You belong here." The evening progressed. Harrison introduced her to colleagues, donors, board members. Most were polite, curious, welcoming. A few, the ones who'd known Harrison longest, had questions in their eyes, but kept them behind professional smiles. Then came Amanda. Harrison's ex-wife appeared like a ghost from a past life. Tall, willowy, platinum blonde, in a white gown that probably cost more than Lorraine's car. She moved with the confidence of someone who'd grown up in this world, who knew every unspoken rule. "Harrison," Amanda's smile was sharp. "It's good to see you." "Amanda, you look well." Harrison's hand tightened on Lorraine's back. "This is Lorraine Hayes." "Lorraine?" "Amanda Harris." Amanda's eyes traveled over Lorraine, assessing. "The event coordinator. How nice." Harrison always did have a thing for charity projects. The words landed like a slap. Lorraine's face went hot. Beside her, Harrison went rigid. "Amanda," he started, voice dangerous. "I'm not a project," Lorraine interrupted, voice calm even though her heart raced. "I'm a person, and I'm here as Harrison's date, not his employee." Amanda's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Of course. I meant no offense. I'm sure Harrison told you all about me. He mentioned you divorced 2 years ago." "Yes." Lorraine met Amanda's gaze steadily. "He also mentioned you remained friends, so I'm sure you want him to be happy." "Checkmate." Amanda's smile flickered. "Of course. Excuse me." She glided away, white dress trailing like a warning flag. Harrison exhaled. "I'm sorry." "She's territorial," Lorraine suggested. "I was going to say complicated, but yes, that too." They escaped to the balcony, needing air. The city spread out below them, lights twinkling like trapped stars. Lorraine gripped the railing, breathing deeply. "That was brutal," she admitted. "You handled it perfectly." Harrison stood beside her, close but not touching. "Amanda doesn't get to make you feel small. No one does. She's not wrong, though. I don't belong here. Look at this." Lorraine gestured at the ballroom behind them. "This is your world. Designer gowns and $10,000 a plate, dinners and ex-wives who look like supermodels. I coordinate events. I wear yoga pants on weekends. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. Harrison turned her to face him. I don't care about designer gowns or expensive dinners. I care about you. The woman who reorganizes chairs and cries at grief support and makes everyone feel less alone. That's who I want. Not some polished society version. Lorraine's eyes burned. Your world is going to have opinions about us. Let them. I'm done living for other people's opinions. He cupped her face. Rachel spent her whole life caring what people thought, trying to make everyone happy. And at the end, she told me she regretted it. Said she should have been selfish, should have chosen herself. His voice went rough. I'm choosing me, and I'm choosing you. The rest of them can adjust. Before she could respond, Harrison kissed her, right there on the balcony, where anyone could see, deep and claiming and full of promise. When they broke apart, Lorraine noticed people watching from the ballroom, some curious, some approving, some like Amanda calculating. We're going to be in the society pages tomorrow, she said. Good. Let them see you. Harrison smiled, tucked a curl behind her ear. Let them see us. They went back inside, danced to the string quartet, Harrison's hand firm on her waist, her head resting on his shoulder. Ate overpriced food, drank champagne, mingled with people who were learning to see Lorraine as more than the event coordinator. Around midnight, Harrison's assistant approached, face apologetic. Sir, there's a situation. One of our board members needs to speak with you. It's urgent. Harrison sighed. Give me 5 minutes. He turned to Lorraine. Will you be okay? I've been handling myself for 49 years. I think I can manage 5 more minutes. He kissed her forehead and disappeared with his assistant. Lorraine found herself alone by the bar, nursing champagne she didn't want. That's when Shanice's call came through. Girl, you need to see this. Her best friend's voice crackled with concern. Check the Chronicle's website. Now. Lorraine pulled up the site on her phone. The headline made her stomach drop. Tech billionaire Harrison Sullivan's mystery woman. Who is Lorraine Hayes? The article included photos from tonight's red carpet. But it wasn't just innocent event coverage. Someone had dug into her background, found mentions of Marcus's obituary, listed his death date, included speculation about her finances, her job history, her home address. The comments section was worse. Gold digger, obviously after his money. She's way too old for him. Looks like his mother. Probably can't believe her luck. Hit the lottery with this one. What's he thinking? She's nobody. Lorraine's hand shook. The ballroom swam around her. All these people, all this glitter and wealth and judgment, suddenly it was too much. The dress felt tight, the heels pinched. She couldn't breathe. She grabbed her clutch and headed for the exit. Needed air. Needed space. Needed to not be the woman everyone was whispering about. The coat room. Same one from 6 weeks ago. Empty, quiet, blessedly dim. Lorraine sank onto the velvet bench, pressed her hands to her face. This was a mistake. All of it. Thinking she could fit in Harrison's world, thinking their relationship could survive scrutiny, thinking she deserved this. Marcus would have known what to do. Marcus would have made her laugh, would have put it in perspective, would have reminded her that other people's opinions didn't matter. But Marcus was gone, and Lorraine was 49 and dating a billionaire, and the whole world was watching, waiting for her to fail. The door opened. Harrison stood there, worry etched across his face. I saw the article, he said quietly. Lorraine, they know where I live. They listed Marcus's death like gossip. Her voice broke. They called me a gold digger, said I'm too old, said I'm nobody. Harrison crossed to her in 3 strides, pulled her up, wrapped his arms around her. You're not nobody. You're everything. To you, maybe. But to the rest of the world, the rest of the world doesn't matter. He held her tighter. Only you matter. Only this. But it did matter. The comments, the judgment, the invasive questions. They mattered because they reminded Lorraine of a truth she'd been trying to ignore. She didn't fit in Harrison's world. She was Marcus's widow, a non-profit coordinator, a regular woman in an extraordinary situation. And eventually, everyone would see what she already knew. She wasn't enough. The photograph went viral. By Monday morning, Lorraine's face was everywhere. Gossip sites, social media, tabloid covers, at grocery checkout. Sullivan's secret widow romance, from grief support to billionaire's bed. How old is too old? Harrison Sullivan's controversial new girlfriend. Lorraine stopped reading after the fifth article that speculated about her age, her motives, her convenient connection to Harrison through grief support. Stopped checking social media after the 100th comment calling her a gold digger or worse. She called in sick to work, stayed in her apartment, curtains drawn, phone silenced, wore Marcus's Georgetown sweatshirt, and tried to remember why she'd thought dating again was a good idea. Harrison called 23 times, texted constantly. "Please talk to me. I'm handling it. I promise. None of this matters. Only us. Lorraine, please." She didn't answer. Couldn't. Because what was there to say? That he was right and the media didn't matter. They both knew that was a lie. In his world, perception was reality. And the perception was that she was a desperate older woman clinging to a rich man's charity. On Tuesday, Shanice showed up with coffee and determination. "Open the door, Lorraine." Her voice carried through the wood. "I know you're in there. I can hear Jill Scott." Lorraine considered pretending she wasn't home. But Shanice had a key and no patience for nonsense. She opened the door. Shanice took one look at her unwashed hair, sweatshirt, puffy eyes, and pulled her into a hug. "Oh, honey." They sat on the couch, coffee cooling between them, while Lorraine ugly cried into her best friend's shoulder. "I can't do this," Lorraine said when she could speak again. "I'm not strong enough for this. The scrutiny, the judgment, everyone picking apart my life. So don't." Shanice pulled back, looked her in the eye. "Walk away. Protect yourself. Lord knows you've earned peace." Lorraine nodded. That was the answer. Walk away. Go back to her quiet, controlled grief. Stop trying to be someone she wasn't. "But," Shanice continued, "before you do, ask yourself, is it the scrutiny you can't handle, or is it believing what they're saying about you?" Lorraine's breath caught. "What? I've known you 20 years. You don't run from hard things. You're the woman who held Marcus's hand through hospice, who went back to work 3 weeks after burying your husband, who rebuilt her whole life from ashes." Shanice's voice went fierce. "But someone calls you too old, and suddenly you're ready to quit. It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple. Those people don't know you, don't know what you and Harrison have. But you're letting their opinions matter more than your own experience." Shanice squeezed her hand. "Does he make you happy?" Lorraine thought about Harrison, his patient grey eyes, the way he made space for grief while offering joy, how he listened without trying to fix, the feeling of being seen, fully seen, for the first time in years. "Yes," she whispered. "Then fight for it. Fight for him. Fight for yourself." Shanice stood, pulled Lorraine up. "Now shower. You smell like sadness and Jill Scott, and then you're going to call that man and apologize for ghosting him." "I can't face." "Yes, you can. You're Lorraine Hayes. You face everything." After Shanice left, Lorraine stood in the shower, letting hot water wash away 3 days of hiding, looked at herself in the fogged mirror 49, graying, crying in a bathroom, wearing her dead husband's sweatshirt. When had she become this? When had she started believing what strangers said about her worth? She picked up her phone, scrolled through Harrison's messages, each one more worried than the last. Her finger hovered over the call button. Before she could press it, someone knocked on her door. She opened it to find Harrison standing there, looking worse than she felt. Unshaven, rumpled clothes, dark circles under his eyes. "You look terrible," she said. "So do you." He smiled, small and relieved. "Can I come in?" She stepped back. He entered, closed the door, then just stood there, hands in his pockets, looking lost. "I'm sorry," they said simultaneously. Harrison laughed, rough and tired. "You have nothing to apologize for. I ghosted you for 3 days. That's something." Lorraine crossed her arms, defensive. "I panicked." "I know. I would have too." He moved closer, cautious. "But Lorraine, I need you to understand something. The media, the comments, the judgment, it's all noise, meaningless noise. What matters is this," he gestured between them, "what we're building, and I'm not letting them destroy it. They're calling me a gold digger. I don't care. They're saying I'm too old for you. I don't care. Harrison," her voice cracked, "they know everything about me. My address, my job, Marcus's death. They're treating my grief like gossip, like entertainment." "I know," Harrison's face went hard. "And I've got my lawyers handling it, the invasive stuff, the home address that's getting taken down. Anyone who crosses the line legally, we're pursuing. But the opinions, the speculation," he shook his head, "I can't control that. Neither can you. All we can control is how we respond. By hiding, by pretending it doesn't hurt. No, by showing them they're wrong. Harrison closed the distance between them, cupped her face gently. By living our lives, being together, proving that their small-minded judgments don't define us. Lorraine wanted to believe him, wanted to be that strong, but she was so tired. "What if I'm not brave enough?" she whispered. "Then I'll be brave for both of us, until you remember how brave you already are." He kissed her forehead, then her cheeks, tasting salt from old tears, then her mouth, soft and sure and full of promise. When they broke apart, Lorraine rested her forehead against his chest, listened to his heartbeat, steady and strong. "I'm scared," she admitted. "Me too, but I'm more scared of losing you." They stood like that for a long time. Then Harrison pulled back, looked at her seriously. "There's something I need to tell you. About Amanda." Lorraine's stomach dropped. "What about her?" "She's the one who leaked your information to the press. She hired a PI, dug up your background, fed it to her contacts at the Chronicle." His jaw clenched. "She wanted to scare you away." Rage flooded through her, hot and clarifying. "She had no right." "No, she didn't. And I've made it clear that if she ever comes near you or your information again, I'll destroy her socially and professionally." Harrison's voice went cold in a way she'd never heard. "She crossed a line. She knows it, and she's terrified of the consequences." Lorraine processed this. Amanda, perfect, polished Amanda, was threatened enough by her to attack, to weaponize her grief, her private pain, her ordinary life, which meant Amanda saw her as a threat, saw her as mattering. "What did you tell her?" Lorraine asked. "That you're it for me, that I'm done playing games, that she had her chance and she blew it by not valuing what we had." Harrison's eyes softened. "And that I'm in love with you." The world tilted. "What?" "I'm in love with you, Lorraine. I have been since that first grief support meeting. Maybe that's fast, maybe that's crazy, but it's true." His voice shook slightly. "And I understand if you're not there yet, if you need time, if you decide this is too much and you want to walk away. But I needed you to know." Lorraine couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Harrison Sullivan, brilliant, successful, damaged. Harrison loved her enough to face down his ex-wife, loved her enough to fight the media, loved her enough to stand in her apartment looking terrified and hopeful at once. "I don't know what to say," she managed. "You don't have to say anything. Just don't disappear on me again. Don't let them win." He took her hands. "Let me fight for you. Let me show you what you're worth." Every instinct told her to protect herself, to say this was too much, too fast, too public, to walk away before she got hurt worse. But she thought about Marcus, about 23 years of love, of showing up, of choosing each other daily. He'd taught her that love was a verb, not a feeling, action, not comfort. And Harrison was showing up, fighting for her, choosing her daily. "Okay," she said. Harrison's whole face transformed. "Okay? Okay, you can fight for me. Okay, we try. Okay, I'm not walking away." She smiled, shaky and real. "But Harrison, I need you to understand something too. I'm not Amanda. I'm not polished or society approved. I'm 49 and I have stretch marks, and I still cry when I hear certain songs. If we do this, you get all of me, including the messy parts. I only want the messy parts." He pulled her close, buried his face in her hair. "The polished version is boring." They stood in her apartment, holding each other, while the world spun outside. And Lorraine felt something she hadn't felt in years. She felt like she was choosing herself. 3 days later, Amanda's anonymous source was exposed by a rival gossip blog. The backlash was swift and brutal. Amanda's reputation, carefully cultivated over decades, shredded overnight. Harrison released a brief statement expressing disappointment and noting that legal action was being considered. The narrative shifted. Suddenly, Lorraine wasn't the gold-digging widow. She was the woman who'd survived tragedy and found love again, the brave older woman defying ageism, the real person standing up to society's shallow judgments. It was still exhausting, still invasive, but it was different. Lorraine went back to work, held her head high. When colleagues or donors asked about Harrison, she said, "We're seeing each other. It's early. We're taking things slow," which was true, mostly, except for the part where Harrison picked her up from work daily, where they had dinner at her apartment 4 nights a week, where he'd started keeping clothes in her closet. toothbrush in her bathroom, except for the part where she was falling in love with him too. But she wasn't ready to say it yet, wasn't ready to take that final step of letting go completely. The wedding ring still sat on her finger, heavy, familiar, safe, and Harrison, patient as ever, waited. The phone call came on a Tuesday. Lorraine was at the community center, teaching her event planning class to teenagers, when her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She usually ignored those now too many media calls, but something made her answer. Is this Lorraine Hayes? Male voice. Professional. Unfamiliar. Yes. Who's calling? My name is David Chen. I'm an attorney handling Marcus Hayes' estate. Her heart stopped. Marcus's estate was settled 2 years ago. Most of it, yes. But there was a life insurance policy that was overlooked. It recently came to light, and the death benefit is substantial. I need to meet with you to discuss the disbursement. Lorraine's hand shook. How substantial? $750,000. The room spun. She sat down hard on the classroom chair, distantly aware of her students watching with concern. Miss Hayes, are you there? I'm here. I need a minute. She pressed her hand to her chest, felt her heart hammering. When can we meet? They scheduled for Thursday. Lorraine finished class on autopilot, drove home in a daze. $750,000. Money Marcus had set aside, probably years ago, and somehow it had slipped through the cracks. A gift from the grave. She should call Harrison, should tell him, but instead she found herself at Marcus's grave for the first time in 6 months. The headstone was simple. Marcus Anthony Hayes, beloved, husband, son, friend. His buildings, healed, neighborhoods. Fresh flowers sat at the base his mother still visited weekly. Lorraine sank onto the grass, traced his name with her finger. Hey, baby, her voice cracked. I know I haven't been here lately. I'm sorry. I couldn't face you, couldn't face what I've been doing. The cemetery was quiet, just birds and wind and her breaking heart. I'm seeing someone. Harrison. He's good, Marcus. He's patient and kind, and he sees me, really sees me, and I'm falling for him, maybe already fallen. Tears streamed down her face. But I feel like I'm betraying you. Like loving him means I didn't love you enough, means I'm letting you go. The wind picked up. Leaves skittered across graves. There's money, a lot of money. Your life insurance. It means I don't need Harrison's wealth, don't need anyone's help. I could be independent, prove I'm not a gold digger. She laughed, bitter. Isn't that what you'd want? For me to be okay financially? But even as she said it, she knew Marcus would hate that. Would hate her using his death benefit as a shield against love. He'd always been so generous, so open-hearted. I don't know what to do. Lorraine pressed her palm to the cold stone. I don't know how to let you go and move forward. Don't know how to take off this ring and still honor what we had. She sat there until the sun set, until the cemetery closed and the groundskeeper gave her a gentle warning. Drove home with her wedding ring feeling heavier than ever. Harrison was waiting on her doorstep. 2 coffees in hand. Worry in his eyes. You weren't answering your phone, he said. I got concerned. Lorraine looked at him, this man who'd fought for her, waited for her, loved her, and started crying. Harrison set down the coffee, pulled her into his arms, held her while she sobbed on her doorstep, neighbors probably watching, not caring about appearances or propriety, just holding her through the storm. Talk to me, he murmured when she'd calmed enough. What happened? Inside her apartment, curled on the couch with Harrison's arm around her, Lorraine told him everything. The lawyer's call, the money, the visit to Marcus's grave, her guilt and confusion. Harrison listened without interrupting. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. What do you want to do? He finally asked. I don't know. She picked at the fabric of his shirt. Part of me wants to take the money, invest it, prove to everyone I don't need you financially. But that feels petty. Like I'm still caring what strangers think. What do you want to do with it? Harrison asked gently. Not what you should do. What would make you happy? Lorraine thought about it. Really thought. Marcus always wanted to start a scholarship fund for kids from low-income neighborhoods to study architecture. He talked about it for years, but we never had enough saved. She looked up at Harrison. I could do that now. Could make his dream real. Then do that. Harrison kissed her forehead. Create something beautiful from his legacy. You don't think I'm crazy? Using the money this way instead of securing my future? I think you're the most generous person I know, and I think Marcus would be proud. He tilted her chin up, met her eyes. But Lorraine, you need to know something. Whether you have that money or not, whether you're financially independent or not, it doesn't change how I feel. I don't love you for what you can give me. I love you for who you are. There it was again. Love. He'd said it so simply, like it was the easiest truth in the world. I'm still wearing his ring, she whispered. I know, and I don't know when I'll be ready to take it off. I know that too. Harrison's thumb stroked her cheek. And I'm still here, still waiting, still choosing you. Why? Why are you so patient with me? Because you're worth it. Because grief doesn't have a timeline. Because I'd rather have you at your own pace than push you and lose you forever. He smiled, sad and sure. I lost Rachel to cancer. I'm not losing you to fear. Lorraine looked at this man who'd given her space to grieve, time to heal, permission to be messy, who loved her without conditions or demands. And she realized something that terrified and liberated her at once. She wanted to let go. Not of Marcus, never of Marcus, but of the belief that moving forward meant betrayal. I want to try, she said. To really try. With you. Not holding back, not one foot out the door, not using grief as an excuse. Are you sure? No, I'm terrified. But I'm tired of being scared more than I want to be with you. Harrison pulled her onto his lap, wrapped her tight in his arms. She pressed her face to his neck, breathed him in coffee and mint, and something that was just him. I need to do something first, she said against his skin. Before we really move forward, whatever you need, I need to create Marcus's scholarship, set it up properly, make it official, give his legacy the honor it deserves. She pulled back, met Harrison's eyes. And then I need to let him go, properly. Say goodbye in a way I haven't been able to yet. Okay. I'll help however I can. No, Lorraine cupped his face. This part I need to do alone. But after, I'll need you. I'll be here. The Marcus Anthony Hayes Architecture Scholarship Fund launched 6 weeks later at the Healing Hearts Spring Gala. Lorraine had worked with the lawyer, set up the endowment, created parameters, full scholarships for underprivileged students pursuing architecture at Marcus's alma mater, Georgetown. Priority given to students interested in community-focused design. The first 5 scholarships would go out this fall. Harrison had insisted on matching her donation, doubling the fund's reach. When she'd protested, he'd said simply, "Let me honor him too. He made you who you are. I'm grateful." The gala was packed. Donors, board members, past scholarship recipients, Marcus's family. Lorraine had invited his parents, his siblings, his old colleagues. They deserved to see what their son, their brother, their friend had left behind. When it was time for the announcement, Lorraine stood at the podium in a simple navy dress, her natural curls framing her face, wedding ring catching the light. 2 years ago, she began, voice steady, I lost my husband Marcus to pancreatic cancer. He was 51. We were supposed to have decades. We got 4 months after diagnosis. The room was silent, attentive. Marcus was an architect who believed buildings should heal communities, not just fill space. He designed affordable housing, community centers, parks, spaces where people could come together, feel safe, feel seen. She smiled, tears already falling, and he dreamed of helping kids from backgrounds like his working class, first-generation college study architecture, to pass on that vision of healing through design. She paused, looked at Marcus's parents in the front row. His mother was crying. Thanks to a recently discovered life insurance policy and matching funds from Harrison Sullivan, I'm honored to announce the Marcus Anthony Hayes Architecture Scholarship Fund. Starting this fall, we'll provide 5 full scholarships annually to students pursuing architecture at Georgetown, with a focus on community-centered design. The applause was thunderous. Marcus's father stood, started a standing ovation that rippled through the room. Lorraine gripped the podium, overwhelmed. When the noise died down, she continued, Marcus's buildings still stand. They still serve their communities. They still heal. Her voice broke. And now his vision will continue through dozens, hundreds of students who might not otherwise have the chance. That's legacy. That's love that lasts beyond loss. She stepped away from the podium. Marcus's mother met her at the bottom of the stairs, pulled her into a fierce hug. He would be so proud, she whispered. Thank you for honoring him this way. He deserved it. He deserves so much more. Later, when the crowd had thinned and Lorraine was exhausted from accepting congratulations and condolences, Harrison found her on the balcony, same spot where they'd kissed months ago. You did beautifully, he said, joining her at the railing. I kept waiting to fall apart. She leaned against him, but it felt right, like I was giving him what he deserved. You did. Harrison wrapped an arm around her waist. He'd be proud. Lorraine looked out at the city lights, at the life continuing below, thought about Marcus, about his dreams, about the love they'd shared, and she felt something shift inside her. Peace. Not forgetting, not erasing, but accepting. I'm ready, she said quietly. Ready for what? She turned to face Harrison, took his hands. To take off the ring. His eyes widened. Lorraine, you don't have to. I know, but I want to. Not because I'm forgetting Marcus, because I'm choosing forward. She looked down at the gold band that had lived on her finger for 25 years. I'm choosing life. I'm choosing you. And I can't do that while holding on to what was. Harrison's hands tightened on hers. Are you sure? I'm sure. Slowly, carefully, Lorraine slid the wedding ring off her left hand. It came easily muscle memory that no longer fit. She held it in her palm, the metal warm from her skin. I'll always love him, she said, voice fierce. Always. He's part of me. But he wouldn't want me frozen in grief. He'd want me living. She pulled a chain from her purse, silver, delicate, bought this morning, threaded the ring onto it, fastened it around her neck. The ring settled against her heart, where it belonged now. Close but not binding, Harrison pulled her close, buried his face in her hair. She felt wetness on her temple, his tears or hers. She couldn't tell. I love you, she whispered, first time saying it, first time meaning it with her whole heart. I'm in love with you, Harrison, and I'm ready to really try, to be all in. He pulled back, cupped her face, kissed her like she was oxygen, and he'd been drowning. Deep and claiming and full of everything they'd been holding back. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Harrison rested his forehead against hers. I love you too, so much, so damn much. He laughed, shaky and relieved. I was starting to think this moment would never come. It took me a while. You were worth the wait. He kissed her again, softer. You're worth everything. They stood on the balcony, the gala continuing behind them, the city spreading out below, and Lorraine felt lighter than she had in years. Not because grief was gone, it would never be gone, but because she'd made room for joy too. Made room for Harrison, for possibility, for a future she'd stopped believing in. What happens now? She asked. Harrison smiled, that crooked smile she loved. Now we figure it out, together. One day at a time. That sounds perfect. They went back inside, hand in hand. And for the first time, Lorraine's left hand felt right without the ring, felt ready for something new. The media had a field day with Lorraine's speech and the scholarship announcement. But this time, the narrative was different. Widow honors late husband while embracing new love. Harrison Sullivan's girlfriend creates legacy scholarship. Love after loss. Lorraine Hayes shows it's possible to honor the past while choosing the future. The comment sections were still mixed. Some people would always be cynical, but the tide had turned. Lorraine wasn't the desperate older woman anymore. She was the gracious widow, the generous philanthropist, the woman brave enough to love again. It should have felt like victory. And it did, partially. But Lorraine was learning something important. Other people's approval or disapproval didn't actually matter. She'd spent months terrified of judgment, and now that the judgment had shifted to approval, she felt the same. What mattered was how she felt. And she felt free. 3 months after the gala, Harrison asked her to move in with him. They were having dinner at her apartment. She'd made her grandmother's fried chicken. He'd brought wine and flowers when he set down his fork and looked at her seriously. I have a question, he said. That sounds ominous. It's not. It's just, I'm 52 years old. We're not kids. I don't want to waste time doing things in some prescribed order just because that's how it's supposed to go. He reached across the table, took her hand. I want you in my space. I want to wake up next to you every morning. I want to build a life together, not just date. Lorraine's heart stuttered. You want me to move into your penthouse? I want us to find a place together, something that's ours, not mine or yours. A home. Harrison's thumb traced circles on her wrist. Unless you think it's too fast, we can wait. I don't want to wait. Lorraine. She thought about it. About her apartment, full of memories of Marcus. About Harrison's penthouse, all glass and steel and money. About the idea of a space that belonged to both of them, where they could build something new. I want a house, she heard herself say. Not a penthouse, not an apartment. A real house, with a yard and a porch and space to breathe. Harrison's smile could have powered the city. Then let's find a house. They started looking the next week, toured dozens of places, too modern, too formal, too small, too big. Harrison let Lorraine lead, never pushing his preferences, just following her through open houses and commenting on crown molding and natural light. They found it in a neighborhood 20 minutes from downtown. A craftsman-style house, built in the 20s, lovingly maintained. Hardwood floors, built-in bookshelves, a fireplace that worked. Big kitchen with windows overlooking the garden, 3 bedrooms upstairs, office on the main floor, front porch with a swing. This one, Lorraine said the moment she walked in. This feels like home. Harrison bought it that day. Cash offer, closing in 3 weeks. When Lorraine protested that he didn't need to move so fast, he'd said, "I've been waiting to live with you for a year. 3 weeks is fast, but it's still waiting." Moving out of her apartment was harder than expected. Every box held memories, Marcus's books, their wedding, china, photos from 23 years together. Lorraine sat on the bedroom floor, surrounded by remnants of her life, and cried. Shanice found her there. "Come on, honey, let's take a break." She pulled Lorraine up, made her tea, sat her on the couch. "Talk to me." "I'm leaving him behind," Lorraine said, staring at the apartment that had held her grief. "This was our place, the last place we lived together, and I'm leaving it for Harrison's house." "Your house," Shanice corrected gently. "Yours and Harrison's, not just his. But Marcus is here, in every room, every corner. If I leave, he's not in this apartment, Lorraine. He's in you, in your heart, in the scholarship that bears his name. In every building he designed that's still standing." Shanice took her hand. "You can leave this place and still carry him with you. What if I forget? What if time passes and I can't remember his voice, his laugh, the way he made me feel? Then you pull out the photos, listen to the voicemails you saved, visit his grave, talk to his family." Shanice's voice went firm. "But you don't stop living because you're afraid of forgetting. That's not what he'd want. That's not what you want either." Lorraine knew she was right, but knowing and feeling were different. "I'm scared," she admitted. "Of course you are. You're choosing happiness. That's terrifying." Shanice smiled. "But you're also the bravest person I know, and you deserve this. You deserve Harrison, and love, and a future that's more than grief." They packed the rest together. Lorraine carefully wrapped Marcus's things, his favorite books, his architecture awards, photos from their life, set aside boxes for his family, for herself, for donation, kept what mattered, let go of what didn't. The ring on her necklace bumped against her sternum, a constant reminder. She touched it, felt its familiar weight. "I'm not leaving you," she whispered. "I'm just making room for more." Moving day was chaos. Harrison hired movers, but Lorraine insisted on unpacking herself. She needed to place things to make the house theirs. They worked side by side, hanging art, arranging furniture, debating where the couch should go. In the bedroom, Lorraine carefully placed a photo of Marcus on her nightstand. Their wedding photo, both of them young and laughing, full of belief in forever. Harrison came up behind her, wrapped his arms around her waist, rested his chin on her shoulder. "He can stay there," he said quietly. "I'm not threatened by him. He was part of your life. He made you who you are. I'm grateful for that." Lorraine turned in his arms, looked up at this man who'd been so patient, so generous, so willing to share her heart with a ghost. "You're extraordinary," she said. "I'm just a man in love." He kissed her forehead. "Now come see what I set up in the office." The office had built-in bookshelves covering 2 walls. Harrison had filled one wall with his books, business, philosophy, fiction. The other wall he'd left completely empty. "That's your wall," he said, "for Marcus's architecture books, for your event planning resources, for whatever you want, your space, in our home." Lorraine's throat closed. Such a small gesture, such a massive gift. He was making room, literally and figuratively, for all of her. Past and present, grief and joy, Marcus and him. "Thank you," she managed. "You don't have to thank me." Harrison pulled her close. "This is what love looks like. Making space for all of someone, not just the easy parts." They unpacked Marcus's books together. Harrison read titles aloud, asked questions about Marcus's favorites, listened to Lorraine's stories about their shared love of beautiful buildings. He honored the man who'd come before him, made space for Lorraine's grief without demanding she hide it. That night, they christened their new house, made dinner together in their kitchen, Harrison on pasta, Lorraine on salad, both of them dancing to Alicia Keys playing from the speakers, ate on their back porch as the sun set, watching fireflies light up their garden. "This is perfect," Lorraine said, leaning against Harrison's shoulder. "This moment, this house, this life. It really is," Harrison kissed the top of her head. "And we're just getting started." 6 months later, the first Marcus Anthony Hayes Architecture Scholarship recipients were announced. Harrison had insisted on hosting a reception at their house. "Let them see what community means," he'd said. Lorraine had invited the 5 students, their families, Marcus's parents and siblings, the scholarship committee, and key donors. Their house filled with voices, laughter, hope. The students, 3 Black, 1 Latina, 1 Vietnamese, all first-generation college, were bright-eyed and grateful, carrying portfolios of their work, eager to talk about their dreams. One student, a 19-year-old Black woman named Keisha, pulled Lorraine aside. "I just wanted to say thank you. Like, really thank you." Keisha's eyes were wet. "My mom cleans houses. My dad drives for delivery companies. We don't have money for college. And I've wanted to be an architect since I was 12, since I saw this community center in our neighborhood and thought, someone designed this. Someone made this space for us." Lorraine's heart clenched. "What community center?" "The Westside Youth Center, on 14th Street. Lorraine's breath caught. "Marcus designed that. My late husband. That was one of his favorite projects." Keisha's mouth fell open. "Mr. Hayes designed that? The building that made me want to be an architect?" "He did." They stood there, 2 women spanning a generation, connected by one man's vision of healing through design. Keisha started crying. Lorraine pulled her into a hug. "He'd be so proud," Lorraine whispered. "So proud that his work inspired you, that his scholarship is sending you to Georgetown, that his dream is continuing through you." Later, when everyone had left and they were cleaning up, Harrison found Lorraine standing in front of the photo of Marcus on her nightstand. "You okay?" he asked softly. "Better than okay." She turned, smiled through tears. That girl, Keisha, Marcus's community center, is what made her want to be an architect, and now his scholarship is sending her to school. He's still healing communities, Harrison. Even gone, he's still doing what he loved. Harrison pulled her close. "That's legacy, real legacy. And I get to be part of it, get to honor him while building a life with you. How did I get so lucky? I ask myself that every day." Harrison tilted her chin up, kissed her gently. "Though I think luck has less to do with it than courage. You chose this. You chose to keep living. That's not luck. That's strength." Lorraine looked around their home, photos of Marcus alongside photos of her and Harrison, Marcus's books next to Harrison's, her past and present coexisting peacefully. She'd built something impossible, a life that honored what she'd lost while celebrating what she'd found. "I love you," she said. "Both of you. Marcus for the life we had, you for the life we're building. I love you too. All of you. Past, present, future." They stood in their bedroom, in their house, in the life they'd chosen. And Lorraine felt the weight of the ring on her necklace against her heart, not a burden, not a chain, but a reminder. She'd loved deeply. She'd lost terribly. She'd survived impossibly, and she was brave enough to love again. That was her story. That was her legacy, and she was just getting started. 2 years later, Harrison surprised Lorraine with a trip to Marcus's grave. They drove in comfortable silence, her hand in his, city giving way to suburbs, giving way to the quiet cemetery where Marcus rested. It was spring, Marcus's favorite season, and everything was blooming. Lorraine hadn't been back since the night before the scholarship announcement. The headstone looked exactly the same, but she felt different, lighter, happier, whole in a way she'd thought was gone forever. "I'll wait by the car," Harrison said, starting to step back. "No," Lorraine caught his hand. "Stay, please." They stood together in front of Marcus's grave. Lorraine touched the headstone, felt the cool marble under her palm. "Hey, baby," she said softly. "I brought someone I want you to meet. Officially." Harrison stood beside her, respectful and present. "This is Harrison. You'd like him. He's smart and kind, and he makes terrible jokes just like you did. He loves architecture too, funded the restoration of 3 of your buildings last year. Surprised me with it," she smiled. "And he loves me, takes care of me, makes me laugh, makes me want to wake up in the morning." The wind rustled through trees. A cardinal landed on a nearby branch, bright red against green leaves. "We got married last month," Lorraine continued. "Small ceremony, just family and close friends. I wore the sapphire necklace you gave me on our 10th anniversary. Kept your ring on, too, under my dress. You were there. You're always there." Harrison's arm came around her waist, steady and grounding. "The scholarship fund is thriving. 20 students now, full rides. They're designing community centers and affordable housing and parks carrying on your vision. You'd be so proud, Marcus. So damn proud." Lorraine pressed her hand to the ring under her shirt, felt its familiar weight. "I'll always love you, always. You were my first love, my best love, my forever love. But Harrison taught me something. I can have 2 forevers. I can honor what we had while building something new. That's not betrayal. That's survival. That's choosing life." She kissed her fingers, pressed them to his name carved in stone. "Thank you for 23 years. Thank you for teaching me what love looks like. Thank you for making me brave enough to love again." Her voice broke. "I miss you. I'll always miss you. But I'm happy, and I think you'd be happy for me." The cardinal sang, sweet and clear. Lorraine imagined it was Marcus's way of saying, "I am. I'm happy for you. I love you. Live." Harrison held her while she cried. Not grief, exactly. Something more complex, gratitude and loss and joy all tangled together. When she was ready, they walked back to the car hand in hand. Lorraine looked back once, saw the headstone standing peaceful in spring sunshine. "I'm ready to go home now," she said. "Our home, our home." She smiled up at Harrison, this patient man who'd waited, who'd fought, who'd loved her through everything. "Let's go home." They drove away from the cemetery, toward the city, toward the house they'd built together, toward the life they were still creating. The ring rested against Lorraine's heart, Marcus's gift, Harrison's acceptance, her own proof that love didn't end. It just transformed. And sometimes, if you were very brave, very lucky, very willing to risk everything, sometimes it came around again. Lorraine Hayes was 49 when Harrison kissed her wedding ring and told her he'd wait. She was 51 when she took it off, 52 when she married again, and she was finally, beautifully, courageously, happy. What would you rate this story? Drop 0 to 10 inches the comments right now. If this story moved you, hit subscribe for more emotional journeys every week. And if it truly touched your heart, consider leaving a super. Thanks, your support helps us create more stories like this. Every contribution, big or small, means the world. Ready for the next story? It's even more dramatic than this one. Click now. Thank you for being part of this journey.